Hi, my name is Corey Reed. I'll be presenting on behalf of Vic Chava and myself on our analysis of housing costs using 2007 to 2016 American Community Survey data. The American Community Survey is an ongoing population-based probability sample survey that measures key demographic variables across the U.S. in between each 10-year census. The survey collects a wide range of demographic and socioeconomic variables. And for example, if you look at the race and Hispanic origin category, yes, for example, in the survey, the respondents are asked about their race and they can answer which one race they feel they represent. And those survey answers get weighted up to population totals, and then the results get released in count format. And one of the key categories we focused on in this analysis were the housing related variables. Home characteristics collected in the survey include vacancy of the housing, number of units and type of home, single family, multifamily, year built, rooms and bedroom counts, heating, fuel, and number of occupants. On the financial side, data is also collected on mortgage status, the monthly owner costs, including taxes, utility insurance, the value of the home, and then all associated costs with rentals. The primary analysis variables we looked at were the median home value, so the reported valuation by the survey respondent, and also the median monthly housing costs, which blend costs from renters, owners, uh, both who pay rent and with or without mortgages. So we all hear crazy headlines all the time about housing costs and how out of control they are. But the ACS survey tells a different population-based story. Um, the community survey is representative of all universe of housing, includes renters who pay and don't pay, homeowners who have mortgages and don't. Our data represents median, so it excludes outliers, and our percent changes in real dollars. An example is San Francisco County. If you look, out of 131,000 owner-occupied homes, 41,000 don't have a mortgage, which dramatically lowers the average cost. If we look at the two analysis periods, 2007 to 11 and 12 through 16, uh, median housing costs were flat in the first period and didn't even start rising till after 2013, and income declined during the Great Recession before it picked up after 2012. We accessed our data using our ACS library with the API key, pulled two different data sets for each 5-year period, and all 123 demographic and housing characteristic variables for each set. It resulted in 3,100 counties, excluding Alaska and Hawaii, which were messy. And we looked at raw counts and calculated percent changes between the two periods for all variables. As an example, if we look at a demographic in the period 1, 2007, 2011, just any demographic variable, and say the count was 1,000. And then in the second 5-year period, the count became 1,100. The new variable would just record the percent change as 10%. Looking at the percent changes in median monthly housing costs results in a nice normal distribution of percent changes across all 3,100 U.S. counties between the two 5-year periods. Notice that the bulk of the data falls in the declining or less than 0 percentage data range. We already discussed why this is, but it's a good reminder of the population-based approach of the survey. We did also produce a weighted histogram by county population, and the center actually moved further left after weighting. Percent changes for house values across all counties is also roughly normal, more centered around 0 than the total housing cost variable, with outliers from expensive counties skewing the distribution slightly right. Now that we have our features built, let's look at some of the analysis that we were able to do with our data. We built a county level map just to look at the distribution nationwide, and we can see looking at monthly housing costs are less in the center part of the country up through the Midwest, higher in the coastal big city areas of Northeast and California, and generally higher in the West. Also, we looked at a map of all counties, looking at house value, and similar. We're seeing lower values in the South and Midwest, a little more wide distribution than the total housing costs. And again, you see high values on the coasts, in the key Northeast cities, and also in resort areas in the middle of the country, your Vail, Breckenridge, and Sun Valleys, and resort type areas. Looking at median nominal home values distribution by census region, the South and Midwest have similar shapes in both 2011, the green, and 16 yellow, while likewise the West and Northeast regions show similar distribution shapes. Both the Midwest and South saw little changes between the two 5-year periods. West and Northeast have more counties with larger, higher median values, and both regions showed declines in median house values, while the South Midwest did not decline in median values. The median in these charts is indicated by the lower dashed lines and is surrounded by the 25th and 75th percentiles. We ordered the state level distributions of housing costs from low to high, and be able to see how they kind of varied from the 100,000 up to near 400,000, and they included the District of Columbia, which was high at 500,000. And you can see consistently that the 2012-2016 5-year period it shows those declines, that the median value was less in that second period for many of the states. Let's shift gears and look at our percent change analysis. Creating the percent change features caused some problems for a few demographic categories with low count. Here's an example with those who say their one race is Asian. The distribution by quantile showed that there were more variability in small counties, but extreme outliers and some bad data from the census API created highly skewed distributions. After removing the erroneous data, we made the decision to cap percent changes at 350%. The cap variables allowed for consistent interpretation. Looking at the percent change in those reporting Asian as their sole race again, we could see that without the extreme values, we can see that the percentage declines in smaller counties, but those declines disappear as county size increases. The variability of percent population also becomes less variable as county size increases. Looking at the combined histogram of percent changes in housing costs, all regional distributions are centered left of 0 or negative values. The Northeast and West have fewer counties overall than the Midwest and the South. Note that the percent changes between the two periods from here on out are in real 2016 dollars to be able to compare the both time periods in the same dollar value. Combined histograms of median house values are more centered around 0%. The West and Northeast regions experienced heavier percent change declines, with their distributions clearly centered below 0. Looking at the broader census divisions, which further divide regions in the U.S., we can see that variability in percent changes in house values by county varies across census divisions, with the highest variability in regions in the center of the country, including West North Central and West South Central divisions. New England and Middle Atlantic were the most stable areas with the tightest distribution of house value changes. The median percent change in housing costs between the two 5-year periods are below 0 when looking at all counties within each division of the United States. New England and Middle Atlantic have the tightest distribution, while the Mountain States and South Atlantic states see the highest variability in percent change by county. Variability in percent change in reported home value declines as the size of the county increases. The smallest counties, less than 20th percentile, were the only groupings to show positive change in values of percent change between the two 5-year periods. Variability in percent changes by counties within each division and declines as the county size increases. Similar results occur with housing costs, except no median percent changes by division was above 0. There is a spike in variability in the 70th, 80th percentile, but otherwise a percent change in housing costs seem to decline as county population increases, and variability decreases as the county size increases. With our percent demographic and housing characteristic variables, we looked at for ways to screen the various measures to identify the fields most associated with percent change in median monthly housing costs. To measure the association between the percent change in our different demographic measures and percent change in housing variables, we use the Python select k-best screening algorithm to test each variable and rank those that were significant below the 0.01 level by reporting an F-test statistic. Median income was clearly the demographic category most associated with percent change in housing. So we visually looked at the rank test statistics. You see after median income, there's median age, changes in labor force, and marital status, and then they fall off to pretty low values after that. We also ran the same screening test to visualize the ranked F-test scores of the different housing characteristic variables. Housing variables were much closer together, with year built being the most influential characteristic, followed by number of rooms and some mobility measures, and then most of the other measures were pretty tightly clustered with similar influence. One final analysis that we did was took our top demographic variables, including division and population size, and threw the variables by most influential to least influential into regression models one at a time to look at the explained variation, or R squared. So after about 5 variables, the R squared leveled off at about 25% with really no new information. And not that the point was to be able to predict, but it was just interesting to see how well these variables could predict change in housing costs. In conclusion, income, geography, county size were probably the most significant key variables in our exploration. In general, measures related to adverse socioeconomic factors seem to be quite indicative of housing changes. Housing characters themselves are not highly associated with the changes in the values, at least in the way we analyzed it. Percent change seemed to be a good way to standardize the data, but it didn't lead to good modeling or prediction outcomes. Probably an effective way to consolidate the data, but definitely caution needs to be taken when removing the population size and converting to percent change to make sure you know what your variable is saying about your data. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and see you later. Bye.